Hello, my name's Simon. Welcome to my workshop. Something different this week. I'm going to be making a solar filter for my telescope for observing sunspots on the sun. Let's get started. Now I should say at the outset that even with the unaided eye you can damage your eyesight if you look at the sun. So if you've never built a solar filter, I'd suggest getting in touch with Lynn at the British Astronomical Association's solar section. I'll leave a link in the description and a link to some basic solar observation safety tips. And remember, just as in the workshop, your safety is your responsibility. I've been an amateur astronomer for about 30 years and observing the sun on and off for much of that period. I've had many solar filters in that time, and my current solar filter setup is a small refractor with a Herschel wedge. However, I was curious to see if using my big telescope and some solar safety film would give better results than a fancy setup I usually use. The cells for these filters are usually made from cardboard, but having just made a circle cutting jig for my router table, I thought I'd have a go making a wooden one. I start by rough cutting a circle out of 5mm, that's 1/4 inch plywood, using my bandsaw, then complete the job using the router table circle cutting jig. Then, using the jig, I cut out the centre to form a ring. It's important to note that when cutting an internal circle using the jig, you shouldn't complete the circle as the jig is attached to it, so the last little bit has to be completed by hand and then sanded. Then again, using 5mm ply, I cut another piece on the bandsaw, which is still my favourite tool in the workshop. If you're interested in how I added dust collection to this 40-year-old machine, or how I restored it using a 3D printer to replace the perished plastic parts, I'll leave a link in the video description. And while I'm talking about my videos, if you're enjoying this, then please consider leaving a thumbs up and subscribing. Knowing people are enjoying the videos keeps me making them. I then use the circle cutting jig to tidy everything up. The jig is such a simple tool but lovely to use. If you haven't watched the build video, why not do that next? You can find a link to my router table accessories playlist in the video description. I then cut the centre out, remembering not to complete the circle as the jig is connected to it. There's then a little bit of sanding to prepare the pieces for painting, and I drill the holes that will later be used to fix the tube clamps to the filter, and elongate these holes to allow for some adjustment. I now had to make 4 tube clamps using 3/4 inch, that's 18mm ply. These have a curve cut into them the same diameter as the tube of the telescope, so we'll grip the sides of the telescope to ensure the filter can't be blown off by a gust of wind, which would obviously be disastrous. Here are all the components just prior to assembly and painting. Last time I made one of these, I made the filter cell out of cardboard, so this is really very over-engineered. I fit some M6 threaded inserts into the tube clamps. When doing this, I get a little bit of blowout on a few of the clamps, so I find the chips and glue them back in place. So I should pay more attention to the wood grain on the top surface, because this piece didn't get any blowout and the wood grain is going in this direction. And I think because there's a bit more wood here, it's been able to hold and hasn't blown out, whereas the other 3 pieces, the wood grain was going in this direction on the top surface, and here or over here or both blew out, which is why I had to glue them up. I now give everything a coat of water-based satin black exterior paint. While the paint is drying, I make some M6 fun screws using some thread I had left over from a previous project. First cutting it to size, then fitting them to some knobs I'd salvaged. And then I finished painting the other side. Now I don't want to scratch my expensive telescope, so I add some velvet to the face of the clamps. You might recognise this velvet from the guitar stand build that I did a few weeks ago. I now cover the ring with double-sided tape. This will hold the solar safety film in place. And I use my 30-year-old homemade craft knife and scribe to peel the back of the tape and stick the frame to the safety film. I then cut off the excess film. Note this isn't tin foil, it's specialist solar safety film. It reduces the total light entering the telescope by 99.999%. And apply double-sided tape to the ring and sandwich the film between the two pieces of wood. And when fitting it, it's important not to stretch the film as it will result in a poor quality image. Then I attach the clamps. Here's my telescope. The little refractor on the top is my solar scope, and the white box at the end of the solar scope is the Baader Herschel wedge, which I normally use for white light imaging of the sun. With my new solar filter, I'm going to compare the different solar imaging using the big telescope with the solar filter versus the small William Optics refractor using the Herschel wedge. It's sunny today, but the conditions are not great. There's high cirrus clouds passing in front of the sun. This will make getting a good image difficult, but I can't wait to give it a go, and the forecast suggests clouds for the next couple of weeks, so this is my only chance before I publish the video to get some solar images. I quickly capture some video. That black dot is a sunspot larger than the Earth. I processed the video to produce the final image, which is not as good as I'd like, but given the conditions it's very acceptable. Until I get good conditions I won't be able to compare it with my fancy setup, but first impressions suggest I should be able to get some good images with this setup. Well, thanks for watching this slightly different video. I hope you enjoyed it enough to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to leave them in the comments, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye for now.